now when people are charging margins, the a lot of the consumers say, "Oh my gosh, they're ripping me off." Nobody in the industry, in the pool industry that I'm aware of, is charging any different margins than what they are in, or any higher margins than what they are in any other industry. But because so many guys, and which is the reason so many companies fail in the pool business, is they're not charging proper margins. And then when people do charge proper margins, they're being accused of being rip-off artist and scam artist and bait and switch, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah, and I think double-edged sword. The biolab explosion or fire caused skyrocketing chemical prices, and it was a period of time, the 6 or 8 months after that, where everyone was struggling to find chemicals, and it was a tough period. But that actually kind of woke the industry up to raising prices to a reasonable level, because I don't know if you were like me, but before that happened and before COVID, which actually was 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago and 10 days to the day when
Yeah.
we shut everything down, we weren't really raising our prices the way we should have been. I'm guilty of not charging. I was charging $120 for a bucket of trichlor tablets. I was getting them for 78 bucks. So I'm making 40 bucks on it. Not bad. But now, since everything is so expensive and we know the cost of fuel's gone up and everything else and the employees, now we're charging what we should have been charging probably pre-COVID. And I think it woke up the industry that, hey, we need to start raising our prices on a regular basis. And so, like you mentioned, the margins were low because the whole industry was kind of sleeping. We weren't really keeping up with the other industries like electricians and plumbers and things of that nature. So it was a good thing. And I think it really has helped the industry because now we're charging legitimate rates for everything. I mean, we're charging what, $500 now for like a pump and motor install, where before we were charging like 200 or 250, because we know there's money on the table that we're leaving, and now we're going to capture that money and make everyone's business better. And we're not taking advantage of the customers, because if you hire a plumber to do that install, it's going to be quite close to that amount based on the plumber's rate. So we're kind of even now with the other industries or the other service professions that are out there.
Right. And something I kind of touched on a while ago is when these smaller companies that are not charging proper rates and making proper margins, when things go wrong, like and stuff always goes wrong. We know how it goes. If when something goes wrong and you need to eat that and replace it for the customer for whatever reason, you can't afford it because you didn't
Mm-hmm.
make any. You're not putting anything in the bank. You're basically out there trying to earn a daily wage, and then when things happen, your truck blows up, anything happens, you can't, your riptide falls off the back of your truck, you know, you can't afford to fix that. And then I think that's the biggest thing in our industry that makes guys, they come in, they're all fired up, and then 8 months later, they vanished, because they just weren't, they could not sustain their business. One little hiccup would take them out.
And I think that damaged the industry too, because it gives a bad impression. A lot of, if you're like me, a lot of the pools you capture are from people that are saying, and you mentioned the person with the ankle bracelet, are from professionals or so-called professionals that don't show up, don't take care of the pool correctly. And these are the guys with no margin, like you mentioned. You see them, they have a pole, a few things in their truck, and they're undercutting everyone in the industry, and then they just disappear, and then they leave the industry holding the bag basically. And so you're
Yes.
trying to get that account. The customer is kind of leery about pool service now, and it's one of the things that has really hurt the industry. However, I think, again, I mentioned that more professionals are coming in. I don't see that as much in my area anymore, where someone's just kind of starting from scratch with no knowledge and ruining the industry in a way. So I think that's hopefully going away. As it's expensive to start a pool service business now. It was cheap
Yes.
before. So that's also weeding out the people. I think there probably should be a national certification for the pool pro, just like a plumber has to be certified and bonded. Same with any kind of contractor. You were an electrician, so you have to have your all your documentation and licensing. And I think the industry does need that so that we can eliminate those kind of people that are going to just be fly by night pool pros.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent. I know a lot of guys in the industry. Nobody wants the government in their business, but it's to the point now where there's a lot of consumers getting hurt and getting ripped off because guys cannot afford to finish the job because they run a bad business, or have bad business practices. And they're not necessarily bad guys; they just don't have the right practices. But there needs to be more certifications. I'm 100% on board with you on that. There needs to be a journeyman. There needs to be a master. Here in Texas, for us to do electrical work, we have to have a rail license, which is a residential appliance installer license, and it's a difficult test. I remember it. Like I said, I was a journeyman working on getting my master's back in the 90s, and that rail license was as difficult as my journeyman's license. It's a hard test. But I just found out in California, and this surprised me because I assumed California, you guys are going to have to, play hopscotch to get to where you can actually run a business. But y'all don't even have an electrical licensing out there, but for pool equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the Wild West out here in California, which is weird because we're the nanny state, so everything else is regulated, but pool service, handyman, things like that, even contractors aren't as regulated as you would think. Of course, they have the proper licensing in most cases, but you mentioned, people don't want the industry to kind of have a, overarching governing body to licensing. But I think it's just like anything. Would you want to be driving around with everyone without driver's license? It's a simple thing, and everyone has one because it's required. And I think something simple just doesn't have to be, something that's because the LA County Health Department test is really difficult to become certified to the LA County. That may, there's language barriers, there's other barriers for people getting
Right.
in the industry, but there should be some standard licensing of some kind. The CPO is fairly easy. I think, open book, it's still open book test. I took it 30 years ago, but I think it's still
Right.
an open book test. So something like that would be appropriate. And I think it's something that would give the industry something where it's like licensed and bonded on your business card. That's important, I think, because when you call a plumber or electrician yourself, you want to make sure that they have a license.
Yes. And if that was the case, if everybody to start a pole business, if you did have to have a license and certain certifications, that would ease the anxiety of our consumers, of our customers, that okay, he's in the industry, all right, he's going to be licensed, he's going to have everything that's required, he's going to be properly insured and all that. And it would probably take away a lot of this, like I said, the anxiety that our pool owners have when they go to hire somebody. Because you talk to any pool owner that's had a pool, at least in our area, if they've had a pool for 12, 15 years and they've always had somebody taking care of it, they've been through 5, 6, 7 different pool guys. And a guy just disappeared on me one day, and he broke this and said he's going to fix it. And of course, a lot of the stories you get from pool owners aren't always, they're going to favor the pool owner, but that would, I just think that would really help us, solidify, become better businesses, be more respected, and help us even recruit better people into the industry.